What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you a few tips for Solasta, Crown of the Magister. My review after 100% for Solasta should be up hopefully pretty soon, probably a couple more days. But in the meantime, I wanted to tide people over with a tips video, just kind of explaining some of the things I've found useful as I've been playing through the game. So with no further ado and jumping right into it, for starters, craft enchanted items. I put up a crafting guide, and one of the ways you can craft is to enchant things. Now that guide goes over specifically what you'll need, but basically you need a wizard because they're proficient with the toolkit that allows you to enchant things, as well as specific items that have the enchantable icon, which is that like little blue anvil looking thing in the bottom right of each particular type of item. Now this is basically magic items to enchant, and then the primed equipment, which is to say equipment that is ready to be enchanted. Now I put this as a tip because it's important to understand that magic items are a bit sparse throughout the game. Now there's a decent amount of them overall, it's just that the best stuff, and especially the unique stuff, is often found through enchanting. For instance, my mage here actually has a very unique set of clothing that doesn't affect his spellcasting at all, but more specifically also gives me a ton of AC that just regular clothes wouldn't give me. And there's a ton of items like this in the enchanting. Now, it's my understanding if you mouse over each item that you have the crafting recipe for and you go to the actual icon of the item in the enchanting menu, it'll give you the stats. So just reading through it, it's easy to miss those so you won't see exactly what it is. But my point is, even though the actual description of an enchanted item might seem kind of vague or basic, they can be incredibly worth your while if you have the components. 2. Pick up somebody with the Goodberry spell. This is very easy to do if you have a ranger in your party. You can get it with a mage, I believe, a little later on if you pick, I believe, the green mage. But rangers can get it right at the start of the game. And this is important because if your ranger has the Goodberry spell, you basically don't need to carry rations with you ever, because as your characters travel, they of course need to eat. And with the Goodberry spell, that character will just automatically cast that spell and give the entire party food, which means you don't need to carry rations, like I mentioned, which means it's not going to be taking up weight in your inventory. So our third thing is that it is important to understand lighting in this game. So as you can see in combat, this little icon on the top left of most character portraits designates how much light they are standing in. If it's black, it means they're unlit, which means you're going to have disadvantage against attack rolls for anything trying to hit that. And then there's dimly lit, which is basically just lit, just standard attack roll really. And then there's well lit. Well lit is important because some enemies specifically have weaknesses when they are in full light, and some enemies, for instance, can regenerate if they are in complete darkness, so unlit. Now, the easiest way to address this, because for the most part your characters want to be in the light all the time, is to simply have a cantrip that gives you light, for instance, the light cantrip. Now, what I'm about to tell you here is a tiny bit of a bug, so I don't know if it'll be fixed. But if you have a character like a wizard or a cleric who has said cantrip, if you have the spell menu open and then click the little icon next to your character portrait that lets you auto cast a light cantrip on your held weapons, you can then cast that cantrip, which would normally be your action for the turn, and then still cast a spell, which is very clearly a bug. It's not supposed to work that way, but right now it does, so there you go. There's a little freebie. For the fourth thing, check the scavengers board all the time. The scavengers are a faction that basically every time you go through an area, they will automatically, after a set period of time, pick up all of the items that you missed, and then, sell them for you, and they take like 20% of the gold that would normally be made, which is a nice way of giving you gold for items that you normally wouldn't have been able to pick up, say due to encumbrance or something. You even have a chance to buy some of these items back, actually. But that said, what it doesn't tell you is that this also picks up items from your random encounters. So if you are traveling, there's a random encounter, you kill all those enemies, you can't take everything with you, the scavengers board will actually still hoover that stuff up for you. In fact, there is no time limit on that. Random encounters actually get immediately cleared by the scavengers, as opposed to the time limit that comes with all of the other set locations in the game. So basically, just some free money if you want it to be. And my last tip for you guys is casting spells as a ritual. So this primarily applies to wizards. For instance, if they want to identify or use detect magic, it's possible to cast those spells as a ritual, which will pass 10 minutes instantaneously, but it casts the spell without it costing you a spell slot, meaning you'll have to rest less. So that way you can identify your items and stuff without having to pay for it, because, assuming you have a wizard that has the identify spell. But moreover, you aren't consuming your all-important spell slots. So there you go, guys. There is some tips for Solasta, Crown of the Magister. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz. But regardless of any of that, truly, just thank you so much for watching. May you wander in wisdom, and have an amazing day.